This is the Sacred Business Podcast, a show for spiritual women identifying entrepreneurs and leaders. I am Sora. On this show, you'll meet inspiring guests, get some business tips, experience sacred practices, and listen to my personal lessons as a business owner. As a transformational business coach, powerful medicine woman, inspirational speaker, fire igniter, heart whisperer, and world traveler, I've helped hundreds of women around the world heal their stories and transform their sacred businesses. It's time for us to claim our rightful and equitable place in entrepreneurship through scaling our business efforts. You are worthy, divine sister. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6. Last week, we held space while Robin Kimbrel Wiggs, our guest, began to truly feel her medicine on an energetic level. It was extraordinary to see her gifts revealing themselves right in front of our eyes. Her quiet strength, her crystal space, her heart's ability to hold. Robin's presence gives all beings permission to rest into the divine. So often, we believe that surrendering, leaning, being supported, resting, and self-care is an active process. You have to do something, but that isn't quite true, is it? The scariest thing that our internal self can be rather than do is allow our sacred breath into opening us into stillness. This helps us to be centered rather than being in balance. Balance to me is a little topsy-turvy. It's an experience that is unsettling, whereas centered is a strong, fortified, rooted experience. And I have to say, at least in the Western culture, we aren't taught to be centered, nor is it valued. Our mind takes over and we believe we are resting, and in the calmness, divine downloads come. Or so we think. I may argue that at times it's possible that our mind is tricking us to still be mentally more active. Now that Robin has touched her deep magic on an energetic level, what now? Wait up. Before we even go there, it's important to consider something real that happens to us all. The stage when we blank and forget our transformation. How often has that happened to you? I may be bold to say that Robin may have completely lost consciousness and does not even remember the huge reveal that occurred. While listening to the podcast, she might find herself devaluing the process as her ego begins to place less value on her sacred medicine. Holding space for people to feel themselves surrender and rest? What the F? How do I create a business around that? How is that marketable? How is that transformational? How is that even important? No one will desire this as medicine. And people go on for lifetimes unable to touch and feel their personal energetic medicine. Now that she knows this profound feeling and deep knowing about herself, her tangible offerings and business growth are actually less complicated because she has guidelines or a guiding compass for herself. With anything she does, all she needs to feel into is if her service work will help support people rest into themselves. Resting into oneself is her medicine. If it doesn't, then she may consider her idea a no. Her mission may be, now let's take a moment and really drop in. If you haven't listened to Robin and me coaching through her medicine from last week's episode in episode 5, I highly suggest you do that. When you come back, take a moment and really drop in to what her mission may be. What I extrapolated from this was, her mission is, I am here to hold a person's soul in a potent resting stage to access their divine essence. Receptivity is a sacred part of one's evolution and can only be embodied when they are a full yes to quiet centering of one's spirit, nervous system, mind, and soul. That's what I find her mission may be. Based on this, can you see how this can help her with any new opportunities? Remember, I'm highlighting this. When we connect with our medicine, we often feel it isn't enough. It feels way too simple, and it feels way too easy. And yet, it is potent and so needed. So if we move away from our headspace and stop resisting, we can find alignment and watch our business take on some serious magical shifts. So, based on all of this, let's talk about some tangible ways that she can influence, implement, impact all those around her in her community by having specific offerings and engaging with her community. I invite you to take a moment to really drop in and listen to my suggestions, and then come back with your pen and notebook and jot down any of the suggestions that feel true for you. So here are some suggestions. Allowing clients to be held as part of her sessions. Robin holds healing sessions through earth-based practices, right? As part of her session, depending on when it feels true, her clients can know that, quote, sacred holding, that could be what it's called, will be at least 10 to 15 minutes of the experience, meaning that they will be invited into a space where they may melt into and onto themselves and reach a level of collective consciousness and bliss, aka the art of centering. Possibly, she holds a monthly virtual sacred holding gathering. Robin may consider offering monthly virtual gatherings. Those that participate will go through the same experience each time they join, and there's a comfort in the mind's level, knowing that it's the same experience. Possibly it begins with a group share, then maybe a little teaching or a question to walk with. Robin may then encourage everyone to lie down and breathe. Her immaculate space holding will bring them into immediately being held. After maybe 20 minutes of this, she will invite them to return on camera and share what it felt like to do nothing but simply be. This is an exercise where one learns how to access stillness, and depending on what is happening, it is either easier or harder on any given day. What if she also shifts her website opt-in, creating a new one where sacred holding, meditation, and ritual is provided? Robin may consider creating a yummy, nourishing new opt-in for her website. It's simple 5, 10, and 20-minute meditations that one can do during the day. Her new subscribers can choose which one they'd like to do on that day, 5, 10, or 20 minutes, and use it as a way to progress their ability to stay present and find their center. Robin may also consider creating a short ritual that can help anchor a person prior to beginning their meditation, and a way to close their practice with gratitude and celebration before continuing on with their day. Robin has so many good teachings for social media, Facebook Lives, YouTube videos, blog posts, etc. And so here is where I'm going to take a moment to remind everyone, yes, I'm speaking to you, right? You, the listener, who may begin to feel overwhelmed when considering where to start when it comes to social media. You may think that there's so much that needs to be done, that you think separately ideas for social media, posts, for lives, for videos, for your podcasts, for your blog posts. But here's my business tip. Start with one outlet that feels true for the concept you're feeling into and work out your system. And so this is something that we can do with Robin. So I'm going to give you some tips around this. For example, you may have just had an experience when you realized you weren't receiving and you really want to create a Facebook post around it. Do it. As soon as you're inspired, sit down and write that post and do it. Or maybe you notice that your client is sharing what it feels like to actually be centered, and you are inspired by this, and your desire to call to share the actual practice to get them in there, and then what the experience was, also being mindful of confidentiality, as a blog post, and you want to write it out. Whatever feels true for you, do it. And then after you've completed, you're going to take a look and you will shorten or expand on what you created and enhance the experience for your community. That's right. Rather than thinking about reusing or recycling your content, what if you were enhancing and deepening with your community and providing them with more info? That Facebook post can then become a live. It could then also expand into a blog post. It could be a talk or a keynote speech. It could be something that you interview your client on as a podcast. That blog post can be pitched to another website. It could be broken apart and turned into a series of Instagram posts or deep questions for Instagram stories, right? There's a way that you can use one thing that you've created and find ways to be able to deepen the concepts and put it in different outlets. Okay, so let's return to Robin. Here are some ideas for her blog posts. And remember, these questions can then be used for either a blog post, a Facebook Live, or your social media outlets. So here are some questions to consider. What does surrender mean? Why a giver needs to receive? What does receiving actually mean? Tips on how to energetically receive and surrender. What wounds cause over-giving? Personal reflections and shares around this has been showing up for Robin in her life or in her past, and so she will share little tidbits of her story. So if you can see, based on all of the above questions or statements or areas of curiosity that I tapped into, Robin can create an outline with any of these for a live workshop, for a virtual gathering, for a webinar, and even for a talk. She can then use all of this and take one and pitch it for conferences, festivals, local women's business events, podcasts. It's endless what you can do with just one thing. Robin can also hold in-person monthly receiving circles. How juicy would that be? Robin can also add monthly 20-minute receiving healing sessions as part of her client packages for an additional cost, with her first experience being free. And part of this live experience, she can also use music, instruments, scents, touch, crystals, and a biomat. So I have so many ideas, right? And I don't want to overwhelm you. Shall I keep going? I will share just 2 more ideas. Robin may choose to create 3 15-minute receiving visualizations that she then puts on her website as a paid downloadable MP3. She can then add this to iTunes for a really low, affordable cost, but something for others to pay for that they can receive to continue on with their exploration of receiving. Last idea. It would be lovely to see Robin take a look at her website and begin shifting it to reflect her deep magic medicine. First and foremost, shifting the website energetically as a shamanic practitioner using her knowledge to clear and center her website. She may next work on the copy to reflect her and her potent work. Lastly, dive into branding, meaning playing with colors, pictures, fonts, and layouts so it feels like her essence. Ooh, how do these ideas and options feel for you? What do you start feeling into for yourself and your medicine, and how may it enhance your business? Thanks for listening to the Sacred Business Podcast with me, Sora Suryano. If you love the show and desire to know more, check out sorasuryano.com. I would also so appreciate it if you would leave a love note, aka a review on iTunes. Now, remember, you have the power to create anything. You are able to bring forth beauty, abundance, and grace in your business and life every day while living a life that is wild, free, and calm. You are worthy, Divine Sister.